Welcome to For Your Amusement, a theme park podcast that aims to exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park attractions to determine if they are world class. I'm Ryan Bergara.
I'm Byron Marin.
And for this episode's featured attraction, we slap on a puke poncho to discuss Mission Space and EPCOT in Walt Disney World, Orlando, Florida. And as always, go ahead and like and subscribe if you're watching on youtube.com/watcherpodcast, or subscribe and rate the podcast 5 stars if you're just listening. And hey, tell a buddy. It's going to help us keep making the show. We'd appreciate it. Mission Space, Byron.
Hell yeah.
The day has finally come where we cover whatever this is.
Yeah, I think we have 2 very different opinions on this ride.
That's apparent to me, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just immediately jump straight into first impressions here? Byron, what was your first impression of this?
Actually, my first impression had a lot to do with all the marketing for this attraction. Obviously, like Disney World's not our home park.
It is not.
And this was the early 2000s, so I was many years from going back to Disney World.
Yeah.
When this was originally coming out, so all I did was see like a bunch of promo videos through like I think Disney Channel or like ABC, a lot of commercials like covering this.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing all these passengers and there's just these close-ups on their faces and during like the launch sequence, and like you don't see the ride vehicle moving or anything. So I'm thinking, it's okay. It's a simulator.
How'd those faces look? Did it look like they were taking the most painful dump of their life?
Oh, I think we're taking a few G's here. I can't feel my face. I'm numb.
Like based on like their facial expressions, like a lot more was happening. But when you don't see like a ride vehicle or anything moving, you're just like, what's this? Like this person's overacting. Like this is stupid. Like, so when I went on it for the first time, I remember that launch sequence. This would have been in, I believe, 2009. So it had been open for, at least 5 years at that point.
Yeah.
And I remember like halfway through that launch sequence, like remembering those promos and being like, oh, they had a point.
Yeah.
This is insanely intense.
This opened in what year again?
This was, I believe, 2004.
Right. Yeah.
Let me double
that makes
check
sense.
this. It was, no. It was 2003.
Yeah.
2003. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I got on this for the first time in 2006. And it was fairly new at the time.
It was fresh. Was there a green version yet? I don't think there was.
I don't think there was. I don't think there was yet.
I think that
the next time I got in it was 2010. The next time I got in it was 2016. And then the next time I got on it was my bachelor party, which was 2021, 2022. So
years are flying.
But my God, dude, this ride. Now I have to say, maybe as I have aged, I have my tolerance level for foolishness has diminished over time. But I will say that when I first got on this ride, I actually found it quite thrilling and unique. And, maybe it was newer at the time. Those screens weren't, coated with vomit and spit projectiles. So like they were just very fresh. And I don't recall actually getting super nauseous on this ride. But, I was a younger lad at that moment, because my most recent experience paints a different tale, a very, very different tale. And, we'll get into that in the good and the bad, but I will say that I was impressed with this. I thought the motion simulator movements were really, refined. And then I also thought it was a truly thrilling, intense experience. And I still do believe that. Emphasis on intense. But I did like it the first time I got on it. I have to admit. Obviously that's changed. Not to spoil anything. But why don't we move on to some history, Byron?
Okay, July 22nd, 1955, Rocket to the Moon opens at Disneyland just a few days following the park's turbulent debut.
Yes.
Although many years from landing on the actual moon, this attraction provided an intriguing look at what the experience could be like by using ceiling and floor projections to simulate a flight to the moon. Over a decade later, this simulation would become a reality for the 3 astronauts aboard Apollo 11, who went to the moon in 1969, not 1968, but a year after. Following the success of Apollo 11, the novelty of
just clap.
It was an Even Stevens reference.
Oh,
Nailed
I never really watched that show.
Following the success of Apollo 11, the novelty of a simulated flight to the moon would fade amongst park guests, resulting in the attraction's destination and name change to become Mission to Mars in 1975. By this time, fueled heavily by the Cold War, America was captivated by the endless frontiers and possibilities that sat amongst the stars. In the late 1970s, the Walt Disney Company and its Imagineers were hard at work developing pavilions and wrangling sponsors to fund them for what was soon to become EPCOT. It was no surprise that during this time, space travel was still at the forefront of American culture, and ideas for a pavilion dedicated to this subject matter were quite prevalent. However, plans for a space pavilion would end up taking a back seat, primarily due to failed attempts at enticing an appropriate sponsor capable of making the lofty dreams for this pavilion come to life. One of the pavilions that would come to life, though, would be Horizons. Originally developed under the working title Century 3, this suspended omnimover type dark ride would serve as a celebration of the United States of America's third century of life, and present a culmination of many ideas and topics scattered throughout EPCOT's future world, but taken up to 100 years into the future. Horizons would cruise along until 1993, when General Electric would choose to not renew their sponsorship. Without the financial support of a sponsor, Horizons would run into many technical hiccups and slowly deteriorate in quality throughout the mid to late 90s. The once and perhaps still beloved attraction would meet its end at the beginning of 1999, in which the building was demolished to make way for a new pavilion that would go back to focusing solely on space travel. The American IT company Compaq would step in and sponsor the new and exciting project during its development stage in 2000. Although midway through its construction, Hewlett-Packard aka HP would become the official sponsor following their merger with Compaq in 2002. The result is the opening of Mission Space.
New Mission Space at EPCOT. Like no thrill on Earth.
The attraction featured an elongated soft opening phase through the summer of 2003 and would receive an official dedication and grand opening by Michael Eisner on October 9th of that year.
Welcome to Mission Space, everyone. I'm Michael Eisner, and all of us at the Walt Disney Company are thrilled that this day has arrived.
Although similar in spirit to the classic Disneyland and eventually Disney World attraction that predated it, this one-of-a-kind flight simulation to Mars was taken to new levels of authenticity via its centrifuge ride system that applies nearly 2.5 Gs of force upon those brave enough to ride it. Unfortunately, the intense nature of Mission Space, combined with pre-existing health conditions, would result in two tragic deaths in 2005 and 2006. These devastating incidents, in addition to the overall reputation for producing motion sickness, would result in the implementation of a green team option for riders, which scrapped the intense forces still featured on the orange team mission. Have you been on the green version, by the way?
I have not. If I were to get on this today, I'd like to say that I'd get on the green one, but I know myself, and I would still probably do the orange, even though I hate it.
I only for curiosity's sake, I think I would go check it out. Essentially, it's now a trip, over like planet Earth, and it's not like it's like a stark contrast to the intense version of Oregon.
The centrifuge is disabled.
It just will, it basically just tilts.
Yeah, this ride's a lot, folks.
Although
obviously.
On our bachelor party, we did go on Mission Space, obviously the orange version. But Greg, in
our
your
pal
bachelor
Greg,
party, we're all hanging out, and like halfway through our wait, we're like, "Hey, where's Greg?" And then all of a sudden, we like all pan over, and we see Greg had snuck away into the green line.
It's incredible. I do recall the pan over, seeing him triumphantly waving at us in the green, and we were all giving him so much shit. And in recollection, he was smart.
If you're not into simulators in this type of ride, I think he made the right move.
I'm into simulators. I'm just not into puke simulators. And this ride is over the top.
It's so weird because
it's over the top.
I get motion sickness pretty easily.
Yeah.
And yet I don't have an issue with this one.
You know, when you go to like a fair, for those who don't know, and you know, we'll get into this in the fun facts, but yes, it's a lot. This ride is a whole lot, and don't eat before this unless you want to see it again shortly.
Anyways, the 2006 implementation of the green and orange levels of intensity would not be the only renovations made to Mission Space in the years that followed. Because in 2017, the ride's visuals and pre-shows were enhanced to no longer look like you were watching a PlayStation 2 game. Although the improved visuals and a distinct mission around Earth for the Green Team were warmly welcomed, many guests were sad to find that Gary Sinise was no longer hosting the pre-shows.
Yes. It's a tragic loss.
Mm-hmm. And
Lieutenant Dan, no more.
No more Lieutenant Dan. New pre-show, which I mean, I don't have an issue with these. But anyways, that wraps up the history for Mission Space, and it's still
kicking
chugging along today. It's still
kicking.
Spinning people out of orbit. To this
still trapping people. I don't even call this a ride. I call it a trap. This is a trap. Let's go and get on the trap.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I feel like the last couple times I've been on this, they kind of like lock you in, and it's like, for those that are claustrophobic, this might not be the ride for you as well.
Oh, absolutely not.
Because it's a small little capsule that you share with 4 people.
It's the worst.
Sitting alongside you, and like they push the screen up like kind of close to you, so you don't have that much space.
It's awful.
And last 2 times I've been, they've closed that thing up, and I'm just sitting in there. Of course, you have the over the shoulder restraints. You're strapped in pretty tight, and then nothing. Like they have like operation issues, and I'm sitting there. So the time before our bachelor party, I was like stuck there for like what felt like 20 minutes. And I have like, I don't know if you've seen like Kill Bill Volume 2 or that film Barry. Like basically when like ever I see a scene in a movie where someone's like trapped in a coffin or something like that with like no space to move, like that is like my nightmare. That's like the worst way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's do that on a ride.
So I get really claustrophobic in those kind of situations. So I had a miserable time. And then we fast forward to your bachelor party, and I'm telling all you guys about like, I don't know, like that last time, like, man, I got stuck there for like what felt like half an hour, and it was just freaking miserable. And we all get in and we strap in. We may have had a couple bevies before this as well. We all just bust up laughing, but it was just like a big nervous laugh. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm going through this again.
It's unbelievable. This ride is across the way. It's basically the next door neighbor of Test Track. And the last 2 times I've been to EPCOT, I've been with people who had not been to EPCOT before. My wife, and then Lizzie Lockhart, who's a producer here at Watcher. And both times we walked by both of these attractions, and they were like, what are these 2? They look cool, because the Mission Space exterior looks cool. And Test Track likewise. And I said, you don't want to go in those.
Yes, and that
one of them is a bad ride, and the other one is just a bad. It should be demolished. This ride is an abomination.
That's your opinion.
It is my opinion. And with that, let's get into some fun facts. Actually, wait, do we have any average wait times on this bad boy?
Oh, that's right. Wow, we almost whiffed that. Do you want to take a guess?
Ooh, average wait time. This is overall average wait time for this ride. Let's go with 15 minutes.
A bit higher. 24 minutes.
Too many.
Average wait time.
Too many.
Although, I wonder, I should have actually checked, because I wonder if that includes like both versions. Because obviously the orange version has a higher average wait time. But the green version, I like often see like 10 minutes or so.
This ride is such a fucking troll. I'm surprised it wasn't 8008 to spell out boob or something on there on the board. Like this ride doesn't give a shit.
It has reached a point in its life cycle where it seems like if this is above a 20-minute posted wait, you're like it's looking like a crowded day.
This could be a walk on, and I don't know.
I feel like a lot of these numbers were from earlier like years and not like present day. But
I do want to make clear up top. Normally, I'm apologetic if I'm particularly negative towards a ride, but in this particular case, this ride is such a horrible experience and honestly, if you do like this ride and you're like, he's shitting on this ride, I have to tell you, I do salute you because you have the stomach of a titan.
You should salute me right now.
Well, I'm not going to salute you, but I'll salute the viewers at home.
Liar.
That's my salute to you at home. If you like this ride and you could stand it, you're stronger. And if there ever was some sort of apocalypse, you'd probably last. I wouldn't. Anyway, let's move on to fun facts. But once again, let's thank our sponsors before we do so. And we are back. It's time for some fun facts. The ride is 6 minutes long, and it feels it, with an unperceived spinning speed of 35 miles per hour to simulate space travel and successfully generate 2.5 Gs of force. It has a capacity of 1,600 riders per hour and an estimated cost of $100 million to build. That's a lot of moolah for a ride that no one gets on.
I get on it. I like this ride. Fuck it.
Hey man,
I
look,
like
there's
this
like
ride.
it's sports it's usually around 5 or 10. That's what it's rocking with. Actually, out of curiosity,
it's an average 24.
let's see what it's rocking with right now. I bet you it's 10 minutes. I bet you it's 10 or 5.
So
If it's over $10, I'll buy you a beer because Byron and I are going to Universal Studios tonight, and I will buy you a beer.
If it's
Above 10, I will buy you a beer.
above 10 minutes. This is 4 p. This is a little after 4 p.m.
That's correct.
Eastern time or Disney World
So
time.
this is
you.
you actually have an advantage here because that's hotter than shit in Florida at 4 p.m. We're filming this in the summer, so you would think people would at least go in there for the AC.
It's a Friday it's a Friday.
You have everything going for you. This should be an easy win for you if this is a good attraction. If it's over 10 minutes, I'll eat them.
This is definitely going to be over 10 minutes.
We'll see. I might, and you know what I just realized? Test Track is no longer open, so there's really nothing in that part of the park, so it should be over 10.
It's a bad deal. I can't wait for this free beer. Oh my God. It is actually much closer than I thought. It's 15.
I almost feel
That is pretty sad. That's still pretty sad.
I almost feel like I should win that one on a technicality.
No fucking way.
That you barely...
You made the rules.
You
I
had
pushed them.
everything going for you. You had like Test Track is closed. It's summer and it's hot. And
It's not my
it's
fault.
a Friday.
That was your proposition. You should have thought it through.
That's true. I should have said
You played
15.
yourself.
I was so confident.
And you know what? This is,
It wasn't 8008.
Spaceship Earth is 5 minutes right now. Oh, I kind of forgot. This is surprisingly not as crowded of a time of a year at Disney World as Disneyland.
Yeah, because of the
Something
heat.
about late July, August over there gets so freaking humid. It's like unbearable. So,
I was about to say that. I
like
I
for
could isolate what it is.
example, living with, actually, what is it? Soarin' is 35. Frozen's an hour, but everything, Journey to an Imagination, 5 minutes. So it's a relatively manageable, calm day over there.
Yeah.
So still 15 minutes. Not saying much.
That's 14 too many. Moving on to the next fun fact. NASA actually collaborated with Disney to create the attraction to make it as real as possible and helped Disney create the ride system based on simulators and equipment actually used in the field.
I've never been to space before, but I feel like they succeeded.
I've read anecdotally that this is very, very close, which should not be the case for a theme park ride, by the way.
Fucking love it. It's so fun. This ride is so metal, dude.
It really is metal. It gives no fucks. It was like, we are going to make this as true to life as we possibly can, and we're pulling very little punches. Was it correct? Who knows? HP, as you mentioned, was also a collaborator on this, but mainly just to fund the project. And they also funded a special HP lounge, which is on the second floor of the building, and that overlooks the queue and the attraction. And as far as I know, this lounge is just for HP employees and children from Make-A-Wish. So, cool that they hooked up their folks over there, I guess. Right? You sponsor attraction, give me a lounge.
Yeah.
I'll eat some some pretzels or something while I overlook the queue. That's pretty sweet. The NASA collaboration was successful in that the experience and simulation of a flight training was fairly realistic, evidenced by the low wait times shortly after opening and the need for the installation of vomit bag dispensers months after the opening of the ride.
Instrument panel closing. If needed, space sickness bags are located on the instrument panel.
There's also, I did not know this, Byron, and I'm wondering if you did. There's actually a little room right off the exit of the ride. It's like the size of a closet. And guess what's inside that room, Byron? There's only one thing inside.
What, like a vomit bucket?
There's a trash can. You do the math of what that room is for. Yes, that is right. They have a vomit closet. They have a Ralph room. And it's right there, right off the exit That's crazy. And also, they have little fans in this ride, little Ace Ventura fans that blow on your face to prevent you from getting motion sickness. These are all measures they had to take after the ride opened because of how hard in the paint they went. And you know, if you're you, Byron, you're like, hey, you're weak, you can't handle it. And if you're me, it's like, hey, this is a bit much.
Yeah. And I mean, that was like a big, obviously, like the elephant in the room is what happened in the opening years.
Yes.
To a couple of the guests. And it's not to say that there aren't more intense rides out there than this, but I think it's fair to say that this is probably the most intense Disney ride.
Oh, I think bar
exist, none. And I think the mistake here was giving people the opportunity to assume that, okay, they're safe. This is a Disney ride. You know, you could do any Disney ride. And for this, it's not the case. So they had to really put their foot down and like make it very obvious. Like, hey, if you have any pre-existing conditions, if you have motion sickness, do the green side, do not do this. And like they say it like throughout the whole experience.
To their credit, they slap more safety warnings on this ride than any other ride I've ever been.
Because I don't think that was prevalent enough when it originally
certainly
opened.
not. It was just terrorizing unsuspecting guests, including me, which is anyways, let's just get into the nitty gritty here. How does this machine of masochism work? Okay. Now, riders are sitting basically on a giant centrifuge that is about 50 feet in diameter with several cabins attached on the ends of arms that are attached to the center of the centrifuge. And it basically just spins the living shit out of them at 35 miles per hour. That exerts 2.5 Gs of force on riders, or in layman's terms, about 2.5 times the rider's body weight is being just sat right on their chest. The cabins themselves, like I said, are on arms, and they're connected to the centrifuge. And as such, the cabins, because they're hanging, technically, can tilt forward, backward, side to side to further add another layer of motion, because why not? The tilting back simulates acceleration. You see this when you launch off at the beginning of the ride. Tilting forward can simulate a 0G feeling, which that is the 0G feeling that you feel in that portion of the ride, or when you go into hypersleep in the ride, that also simulates this feeling of relaxation. As with the spinning, riders are unaware of the spinning as the cabins are enclosed, and riders are just focused on that tiny little screen that is basically strapped to their face. So you're not aware that you're spinning. It's basically just there to simulate the Gs that would, be occurring if you're on a flight.
And they really warn you to keep that head forward.
Oh, they certainly do. Basically, if you are having a hard time picturing this, and you, let's use this example. If you've ever been to like a fair, like a county fair, there's usually one of those like spinning rides where it looks like there's like a metal gate and it's a circular ride and everyone's just standing with their back against like the perimeter of the ride, and it just spins and you're just basically stuck to that wall. This is basically that, except more intense. And instead of just standing, you are in a little cabin that's also moving while you're doing all that spinning. So yes, do with that what you will. By the way, the cabins, there's 10 cabins, and there's actually 4 centrifuges. I didn't realize this. I thought there was just one, but there's actually 4 sets of centrifuges, each with 10 cabins, and the 10 cabins can hold 4 people at a time. So you're doing that quick math. That's what, 160 people at a time, basically.
Yeah, and they all share this super long exit hallway that hugs the perimeter of the building at the end.
They can all exchange concerned glances with each other.
And then I wonder actually if 1 or 2 is dedicated to the green version. I know obviously at least 1 is.
I know 1 is at least, but also even the green version one is capable of turning into the orange version if they need it to. And actually the green version, just so you know, the orange version is what I just described. A centrifuge that spins you at 35 miles per hour, while you're doing the ride. The green version disables the centrifuge. Now, it doesn't completely disable it. Basically, what happens, as far as I understand it, is the centrifuge in the green version just spins one time the entirety of the ride. So it's just one revolution. And people online have theorized that the reason why it still moves is just for maintenance, because you still need that thing to slowly move throughout time. Because if something just sits stagnant over time, it's going to, break. Anyways, there are 2 versions of this ride. We just went over this. There's an intense orange mission and a gentle green mission. The intense one is a mission to Mars. The gentle one is an orbit around Earth.
Your flight path today is taking you across the United States, past Canyon and leaving the continent at San Francisco.
But the ride movements in terms of like the motion simulator are pretty much identical, actually. The only difference being the video for the most part. And obviously the centrifuge being on or off. So, you know, like Byron said, if you even have a hint of motion sickness, like if you were one experience in your life, you're like, yeah, that one kind of messed me up. Know for a fact that it will mess you up. This ride will rock you. It's just a warning up top. The screen that you see in front of you uses 2 panels of glass to create a simulated 3D effect without the need for 3D glasses, much like if anyone had a Nintendo 3DS back in the day. Kind of cool when it's not strapped to your face, that is. The ride involved the work of 650 Imagineers and over 350,000 hours over 5 years to create this titan of torture. The ride was apparently very tough to get greenlit. I wonder why. And Imagineer Eddie Soto details the bizarre pitch to Disney execs in this quote. This is actually what happened in the room to get this ride greenlit. Quote, "In order to get the funding to convince them, I had to lie on my back, suspended between 2 chairs facing the ceiling, making all manner of communications chatter and engine noises, contorting my face to simulate the sustained G-forces on my body. Think Cirque du Soleil meets Apollo 13. Marty Sklar, Walt Disney Imagineering's president, enthusiastically decided to fund the development of the show, but thankfully never asked me to demonstrate the effect again." End quote. So he basically went, Walt. There's plenty of stories of Walt pitching films or explaining things to the team of Imagineers or collaborators on the films that he was working on, where he would literally tell the whole plot and story, but then act out the parts himself. So this is kind of a throwback way to get something greenlit. So salute to Eddie Soto.
And the looks on everyone's faces is what they were like using for the marketing big time as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder what, Byron, could you do your best for the people who are watching the video version of this? What would your face look like under G-forces? He just smiled and put his thumbs up. Oh, man.
No, you get a lot of this.
I don't even know what mine would be. Here's me on Mission Space. Oh, this is actually really cool. NASA loaned Disney a prototype wheel of the Perseverance rover that went to Mars so that Disney could create tread marks in the concrete outside that are identical to those left on Mars by the rover. There's a little circular patch of concrete that's red outside the attraction that you could see these tread marks on. Really cool. There's actually a reference to the film The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy hidden in plain sight. The number 42 is painted on the wall above the door entering the training ops bay in the queue. This number, according to the film, is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. I never saw the movie, so I don't really get the reference. Did you?
No, I thought it was a tribute to Jackie Robinson, but
cool. Also hidden in the queue is the Old Horizons logo, which you just learned is the ride that was replaced. You could find this logo in the center of the rotating gravity wheel. It's massive. You can't miss it. Or you could also find it at the front of the checkout station in the gift shop. By the way, that gravity wheel was also a prop from the 2000 film Mission to Mars. One of the many props in this queue, not related to that film, of course, but there's other props like an authentic NASA rover, which is pretty cool. An even nerdier parks Easter egg is an announcement in the boarding area for Mr. Johnson, a reference to the defunct Magic Kingdom attraction Mission to Mars, where Mr. Johnson was a robot host. And you FYA fans might remember from our People Mover episode that Mr. Johnson is also referenced on the People Mover when Mr. Tom Morrow is asked to contact Mr. Johnson about his flight to the moon. Everything's connected, man. It's pretty cool. The opening was attended by several real astronauts. I couldn't find the names of these folks, but I assume they existed. And that's it. That's it for the fun facts. I don't know why that ending to that section was so awkward this time. I think it's because there's nothing.
Because you scratched out the insanely morbid.
Yeah, that's right.
Fact.
I think it's also because there's nothing fun about this ride.
I have fun. I don't know. To your point, though, I gotta say, I haven't been able to ride it much, especially in recent years, because no one else in the group except me wants to go. The last, there's been a few times in my life that I've been on this by myself. And I've just found the time in the family vacation where the family's just staying at the hotel or doing something else. And I'm like, oh, here's my chance. I'm going to go on Mission Space.
Yeah, I think when I'm at the end of my life and I'm laying on my deathbed reflecting on accomplishments and relationships that I've gathered over the years, there's no part of my brain that's going to be like, wow, I really missed those 4 minutes I could have spent on mission space struggling to keep down a breakfast burrito.
It's exhilarating.
Is
you
it?
You don't like thrills?
I don't like vomit. I'll put it there. Let's get into the good and the bad. But before we do that, let's once again thank our sponsors. All right, let's get into the good and the bad. What are the good and bad things about this ride? Let's start with the good. The facade, legitimately very neat. I think it looks like that big bag of marbles at the end of Men in Black. And it's cool to see that represented in full scale. Also, I like all the little props outside. There's actually a moon outside. I didn't mention this in the fun facts, but there's a moon that has, I think it has like 26. I've seen varying reports of how many little orange dots there are on it. And that represents various moon landings over the years. I think it's like from 1959 to 1979. This is off the top of my head.
That's dope.
Of like the space race between the Americans and the Soviets. So that's pretty cool. Next good. If you're into G's, this ride is for you. I do enjoy some G-forces. I don't enjoy the way they're employed in this ride, but I do enjoy G-forces. So if you like G's, you might like this ride. Byron, you like the G's.
I do. For whatever reason, like I get motion sick like on a lot of the screen-based rides, like Forbidden Journey is a good example.
Yep.
For whatever reason, I think it's just because like visually it looks like you're just launching straight up, even if you are spinning. My brain is still tricked to think I'm just going straight up. So I feel the G's basically pushing me back in my seat and all the all the awesome intense forces there without getting, I personally don't get dizzy, but obviously a lot of people do. Yeah. So I lucked out there for this particular attraction. I love how sustained the G forces are.
Oh, they certainly are sustained.
Go for launch. We have main engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off.
And I think that's the game changer. It feels like you're launching forever. Like, like every time, I'm like, I can't believe they fucking did this.
It feels like an elephant is sitting on my chest,
and it's
for 4 seconds, and that is an eternity. It's an eternity, and it happens at multiple points in this ride where they really give it to you.
0G confirmed.
Yeah, but nothing like that initial blast off. It's something. It's the most intense 10 seconds of any Disney ride.
If you've seen the television show The Good Place, the demons down there get their pleasure by torturing humans. I imagine this ride is down in hell, and they're just sitting there watching people just go through this horrible launch sequence. But we're in the good right now. We're in the good section. So another good. This is kind of a good, but I do think it is incredibly funny to make people play chicken the second they enter a queue. You enter through the facade, and immediately as soon as you're in the building, you are given the choice. Do you want to do the green or do you want to do the orange? And there's always this hilarious moment, especially when it's a larger group of people who haven't been to this place before, and they're just looking at the two options and they're like, am I a chicken? Am I yellow? Or am I gonna, sack up and get on this orange here?
But I feel like most people you go with are like that have never been on it are like, look, we're in a Disney park. Like, how bad can it be?
It's exactly, and that's how it preys on unsuspecting victims. It's crazy, but I do think that's very funny to make that stressful moment happen immediately. And it happened to us. Like Byron said, we were on my bachelor party. We were all like had a little bit of a debate. We had that thing like, I remember the last time I went on this, it was kind of bad, but maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I was just having a bad day that day. We should get on it. And before we knew it,
we also weren't sober.
We were not. We had a couple beverages, and we went on the orange and then looked over and saw that our friend Greg smartly had chosen to go over the green. I've never seen a man smile more with more teeth.
Honestly, I would have paid good money to see him do the orange.
I don't think you would.
Because I could confidently say he would have been absolutely miserable.
He would have been livid.
He would have been so pissed off.
Especially because
he will skip every single simulator we ever go to.
If we teased him enough that he transferred back over to the orange line and then the experience was what it was, he would have been furious. The guy who comes on screen after Gina Torres in the current version of the pre-show.
I'll be your Capcom, and in a few minutes I'll give you your specific assignments. But first, our flight director has some safety instructions for you. Lieutenant?
remember the team number you're standing on. When the doors in front of you open, you will be directed to a flight station with that number on it. When you get there, please stand on the circles.
It's such a perfect VO voice that it literally, when you hear him speak in person,
the guy that's sitting down spins around in the chair.
Yeah, exactly. His voice is so
really
perfect.
The pre-show.
Yeah, he's so perfect for VO that when he speaks and seeing that come out of a face is almost like jarring. You know what I mean? It's like Joe Davis is the announcer for the Dodgers. He has a perfect announcer voice. If you ever see his face talking, you're just like, ugh, I don't know if I need that. Just cut away. But this guy has a perfect VO voice. He actually sounds like the guy who does the monorail.
Oh, I buy that.
Yeah.
He has such a funny line. I forget what the exact wordage is. We'll cut this clip in. But I remember that after Gina Torres like introduces the lieutenant, he says a couple like quick things, and then he's like, make sure to keep your head straight or whatever. Like, don't move it to the side. And like, even if you begin to feel impaired or like something, it's not, I don't think it's that exact word, but it's basically like,
Keep your eyes open at all times and focus straight ahead, even if you start to feel disoriented.
The safety video that you're describing, because he does the safety video, this also is a good for me because it inadvertently builds suspense for the ride. Mainly because this guy says disorienting. He says the word disorienting like 50 times.
I think that's the word.
He says it like 50 times.
Like, even if you begin to feel disoriented.
And it's just crazy. I was like, you're saying that a lot, man. And even in the video, this is my favorite part about the safety video. This is a safety video where they have people come in, they demonstrate how you sit down, you put the over-the-shoulder restraints on, they put they close the cabin. They have actors, obviously, in this video doing this motion for you. And they are trying their best to put a smile on their face, and they still look miserable in the safety video. And it's very funny. So big fan of that. Also, not really sure where to put this next good. I don't even know if it's a good. But I do enjoy the very, very direct safety warning that they give you before you enter the cabin. It's on a screen in front of you as you're entering the cabin. It's basically like a speak now or forever hold your peace kind of moment.
Like, we know we've already told you 9 times, but please,
it basically begs you, leave and get on the green mission right now if you have any doubt in your mind.
Those who are prone to motion sickness or made uncomfortable by enclosed dark spaces, simulators, or spinning should bypass this experience.
And that's extremely funny to me because I'm sure there have been people who have to make that walk of shame and just be like, you know what? I can't do it. And I have to say, I remember growing up, I had a cousin who was scared of thrill rides, and I love thrill rides. This is one of the few thrill rides I don't like, Mission Space, but I love thrill rides. I love roller coasters. And it's always really fun to get on a thrill ride with somebody who's scared because it's like you could vicariously live through them conquering their fear. It's a fun moment. And so whenever we would get on roller coasters and he would finally agree to get on, I'd be like, yes, he's going to do it. Hell yeah. We're going to do it together. And anytime there was a hint where you could see the roller coaster, I would get nervous because I'd be like, oh shit, is this what's going to make him turn around and leave? This ride, if you were trying to convince somebody to get on Mission Space and they had survived the gauntlet of all the safety warnings and then they hit you with this one that's literally in your face, I would be so sad if that was finally the one that knocked the person off. But you know, it tests your will, this ride, and I think that's good. Next good. It's genuinely terrifying to me, this ride, and that equates to thrill in a sick way. So there is a sick part of my brain, I would say, that really does enjoy this ride just because it's so much ride. It's so much.
A lot of ride.
It accomplishes its goal in that sense, in terms of being thrilling, but also it accomplishes its goal in terms of being realistic to an actual training simulation that somebody would go through at flight school. So I think by that metric, it's a success, and I think that's good. The movements also in the simulator, very convincing. I think it's a well-done simulator, all said and done. The last good I have here is the relief I feel when the screen pushes back and I'm released from my restraints.
You made it to the landing site. Welcome to Mars. And welcome to the astronaut corps.
Okay, heads back, releasing restraints.
And I scurry off the ride like a wild caged animal. So that's my last good. Do you have any more goods for this, Byron?
I think just the overall setup of, like, we'll start with the queue. It does feel like you're like in an authentic, functioning space training facility of sorts.
That's true. The queue is great.
They don't try and over convolute the plot. They're basically like, hey, you're here to train like an astronaut and get the astronaut experience.
Welcome to the International Space Training Center. You're here today to train for the greatest adventure in the history of mankind, space exploration.
You're going to share a simple, like, you're going to get in this capsule, if you will, with 3 others. One's going to be a pilot, one's going to be a navigator.
Okay, now listen up. Here are your assignments. Navigator, you'll fire the thrusters for lunar orbit insertion and for descent to the surface of Mars. Pilot, on my signal, I'll need you to trigger the second stage rocket. You'll also deploy the shields. Commander, you will be responsible for first stage separation and activating manual control for landing. Engineer, when it's bedtime, you will activate hypersleep. You will also extend the wings for landing.
No gunners.
Yeah.
A commander.
There is a person who blasts missiles.
And there is an engineer.
Yeah.
And someone who blasts missiles. That's right.
Yeah.
Which essentially for this, it's, you know,
it's not, you're not fighting anything. You're just blasting it into a planet.
Yeah. We're not in the smuggler run, you know, era yet. It's basically like when the lights blink, press them. Like everyone's got their little, and I will say that it's cool having little practical things, like your own little panel of buttons.
Yeah.
Which might be in your bads. Honestly, I don't know. Collecting germs.
Maybe.
You got the big joystick.
Also, you did make me realize I forgot one good in that. I do enjoy the hypersleep moment.
Really?
When somebody gets to press the button and you go into hypersleep, because it's like, oh, a break. Like there's such a relief in me where I'm like, okay, I just went through so much G-force on that launch. The simulated hypersleep, which they do by tilting the motion simulator forward, is very relaxing.
Activate hypersleep now.
Activated. Hypersleep duration 3 months. Monitoring mode.
And the 0G feeling is very relaxing as well.
I love when you finish that insane intense moment of the launch and you kind of like hover and you're looking down at Earth.
Yeah.
Or seeing like this beautiful view of Earth.
Yeah.
And I forget what the VO says, but it's basically like isn't it pretty, like something to dream about when you go into hypersleep or whatever. I think that was a good transition.
Beautiful sight, isn't it? Something to dream about on the way to Mars. Engineer, activate hypersleep now.
The VO says, you're in my world now, motherfucker. There's no turning back now.
In like the very much the spirit of what like the plot of Top Thrill Maverick, they tell you the entire mission before. They don't try and convolute it.
Top Thrill Maverick? You mean Top Gun Maverick?
Sorry.
Top Thrill, you're thinking of the roller coaster.
When's that shit opening? That one's been a headache, I'll tell you that.
Cedar Point.
But yeah, where they tell you the whole mission before, you know, they slingshot you around the moon.
Yeah.
You should have visual of the space station now, and you are on course for your slingshot around the moon. Navigator, fire rocket for lunar orbit insertion now. Beautiful sight, isn't it?
It feels like I'm getting the closest experience I possibly can to being an astronaut.
And then, of course, you have your little fake peril moment where it's like, oh, the ship's going out of control. We're going through the canyon kind of thing. That's like their fun little Star Tours moment. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know,
I mean, I guess you got to throw in some element of danger.
Yeah.
I will say as a good, the visuals are much better than what they were prior to 2017.
That's
and it still might slip into the bads, but it is an improvement from that. So overall, yeah, I have a great time.
Let's just get into those bads right now, starting with the buttons. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, I don't give a flying fuck about these little these little jobs they give us. They're like, you're the engineer, you're the pilot. I'm like, I'm fighting for my life right now. Why don't you not tell me to do a job? How about that? You get me on this ride, I'll survive. I'll do that part. You do the ride part. Don't tell me to press little buttons because I'm trying to not throw up and I'm spinning so hard that I'm just like, is my button flashing right now? Like I'm just, it's too much. It's too much. And I don't find any solace in it. I don't find any satisfaction from pressing the button. I will say, at least in Smuggler's Run, I do find some satisfaction, but you're not like going through something intense, I suppose.
And I think it is important to reiterate that everyone gets their own individual little screen that's like pressed up very close toward their face.
Isn't it?
And there's something in my subconscious that does give me this like alone feeling.
Oh yeah. It's a very isolating
Run
experience.
has more of a communal, let's work together kind of thing.
This ride is the closest you could be in proximity to another human while still feeling extremely alone. And if that's not the saddest thing you could ever have a ride make you feel, I don't know what is.
And I just realized a lot of the times when I get on this ride, when you get strapped in, I have this thought of, wait, I'm not qualified to do this.
No, it's this ride, first bad, a claustrophobic's nightmare. I personally don't get claustrophobic or motion sick, but I get both on this ride. Here's what happens. You sit down in the cabin, the restraints come down on your shoulders, and you're already like, oh boy, this is a bit tight. It's a bit tight and cramped in this cabin. And then after a moment of time, the screen tilts forward. The whole like apparatus of the screen tilts forward and it goes right in front of your face. Like we're talking like Clockwork Orange. They like strap your head essentially into this screen essentially. And it goes from like, hey, this is a bit tight to, okay, this is extremely unpleasant. And I think I might actually die now.
And if the ride doesn't start right away,
which it hasn't,
and that's it, like
it hasn't.
I have high anxiety now when I get on it because of those 2 times consecutively. That because I am never comfortable in those kind of situations. I do not like.
When we got on for my bachelor party, and the moment happened when the screen moved forward, and it's literally, it feels like inches from your face. And they made the announcement that it was going to be delayed. We did laugh, but then after we laughed, it was one of those moments where like, when you laugh about something bad that's happening, you want your laughter to trail off and then the problem is solved.
Yeah.
This was what happened. We were like, and then it just, this 3 seconds of silence, realizing we are going to be stuck, strapped down to this chair, packed in like sardines, shoulder to shoulder, with a little disorienting little blurry screen strapped right in front of our face for who knows how long. And I remember I had to do deep breaths to like calm myself down.
Well, I had experienced it the time before. So it's like,
I was literally doing,
I was like, not a fucking God. This is the fucking worst.
It was terrible, man.
And I had just told everyone like, oh, the last time was so miserable.
It's not a motion simulator. It's an anxiety simulator. This ride should market itself as that. And it would be appropriate. And then people would, know what they're getting themselves into. And then also, we didn't even get to the point where like, not only is just that's the setup. That's how you get sat in the ride. Then you add to that the fact that the cabin moves. And then you add to the fact that they are spinning you like you're sitting in a giant Vitamix blender at 35 miles per hour. Not good. It's not fun. It's crazy.
It's very exciting.
As it pertains to making a true-to-life flight experience, Imagineers were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should, as our guy Jeff Goldblum would say. This is that ride personified, essentially. Like, I honestly believe, bravo to them for making a very realistic flight simulator.
I think
maybe take it back a couple notches.
This was at the end of the era where Disney was doing these like surprisingly intense things.
Yeah.
For Disney, at least. Like, let's think about it. Like the extra, like terrestrial alien encounters, Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, like throughout the 90s. And this is like Michael Eisner in his his final days at the Walt Disney Company.
It's a lot.
And just full send.
I think here's my suggestion. Make there be 3 different versions of the ride. No one's getting on this ride anyway, so it's not like it's going to eat into capacity. Make there be a green version. Make the orange version be a medium version. And then make a brown version for poo your pants.
Yeah.
And that's the version that's going to, they're really going to give it to you.
Because another bad is I hear that people that do the green are like, okay,
this is too much. This is too little
at all.
This is no longer even a fun experience. If you had something that was in the middle, maybe it would be rideable. Now, the next bad. Here are some funny, really funny responses on a Reddit thread titled, "How crazy is Mission Space Orange Mission?" Here are the funniest ones I could find. And once again, I highly recommend you check out this Reddit thread. The responses are incredibly funny. First one, Mestigos at Large says, quote, I literally felt like I was dying. Redubi A44 says, quote, I had the worst panic attack when they closed the pod and you are strapped into this tiny box with your face plastered against a screen and literally no way to get off. That was a few fun minutes of concentrated breathing and trying not to fully freak out. T-Bone 183 said, there's a reason this e-ticket only ever has 15-minute waits. Which, by the way, 15-minute wait today.
There you
T-Bone knows his stuff. Denver Casey says, quote, do not do it. Don't. You have nothing to prove in life. and finally, this last one, which is incredibly visceral for me because it describes in detail an experience that was similar to mine. And this comes from Cosmonica on Reddit. Quote, fucking awful. I'll never get on that thing again. The pod you're in is tiny, fits 4 people, and you're pushed up against a screen. Worst part is the G-force you experience, which is 2.5 Gs. I didn't know this prior to getting on, and as soon as the ride started, I knew I had made a massive mistake. I had to immediately reel in all the training I've had in therapy to calm myself down when I feel that when I'm spiraling into a panic attack. Deep breaths. I am okay. But also, I was freaking the fuck out praying it would be over soon. I don't know how the hell they allow kids on that thing. Once the ride was over, my whole family felt like shit, and we had to sit down in the shade for like an hour to recover. I'm hella traumatized. For reference, I'm an adult female in my 30s, healthy and active. We'll get on all the rides at Disney, but hell to the no-no for this one. End quote. Anyways,
these all sound like goods to me.
Yeah. This sounds to you, well, you have a sick brain that's like, challenge accepted. I'll do this. But I think my favorite one is do not do it. Don't. You have nothing to prove in life.
So good.
That's incredible. They should put that as a warning in front of the orange. Honestly, they'll get more thrill seekers if they do it that way.
A bad I'll add. I kind of miss Gary Sinise.
Before you decide if it's right for you, let me introduce you to your spacecraft. The X2 Deep Space Shuttle. It's powered by solid hydrogen and can accelerate from 0 to 6,000 in 60 seconds. So when you hear the words, go for launch, you'll definitely want to hang out.
I do miss Lieutenant Dan.
The pre-show I still think is pretty good, though, the replacement one. It might have been for the better just to get like a more updated looking aesthetic.
Yeah.
But I do miss Gary Sinise. I thought he really fit the role of an astronaut really well.
There is that one moment in the current pre-show where Gina Torres is like, let me show you your spacecraft. And then she picks up a little model.
The X2 Space Shuttle. It's powered by solid hydrogen and can accelerate from 0 to 6,000 in 60 seconds. So when you hear the words go for launch, you'll definitely want to hang on.
But it does make me chuckle every time. Like, let me show you your spacecraft. And it's this like 3-inch model. It's so funny. Little Zoolander humor for you there. Anyways, let's move on to the world class tests. The finale for this episode. But before we do that, let's once again thank our sponsors. And we are back. It's time for the world class tests. This is a rubric of 10 tests painstakingly devised by Byron and myself to determine if an attraction is world class. To receive the highly coveted world class pass, an attraction must pass 7 out of 10 tests. A score of 6 out of 10 leaves the attraction up for debate for world class pass standing, and anything lower than 6 out of 10 is an automatic fail. Test number 1, the average tourist test. Would the average tourist have a hard time getting on this ride? Is there a long wait? Is there a complicated queue system? Nope.
I think this is going to get a pass.
It's a walk-on.
Yep.
And you might want to ask yourself why.
And you have 2 options.
You're either going to hate the experience or you're going to be like, So
it's got beautiful entryway. You got the spinning planets.
They do
the stuff.
The queue is really nice. Honestly,
it's gonna pull you in.
The queue is great. The queue feels like a science museum kind of feel, and I like that. Test number 2, the Leslie Stahl test. Would you be willing to wait 60 minutes for this attraction if you've already been on it at least once? Or if everything in the park was 60, would this be one of the rides you wait for?
No, I can't say. I think 30, I'm so there, Ryan.
30? That's insane.
30
dude.
minutes.
That is
I'm
insane.
So there, I will do it.
I'd love to see the group of people that you could gather to wait 30 minutes for this ride.
Half the times I've been on this ride is by myself.
That makes sense.
I'm aware of what people, a lot of people think about this ride. But for me, yeah, 30, I'm so there. 60, can't do it.
Yeah.
It's a fail.
Look, you know, people in the comments, send me videos of you getting on this ride when there's more than a 30-minute wait and you have more than another person with you. I'd like to see them because I don't think they're out there. It's for good reason. That's a fail. 1 for 2. Moving on to test number 3, the smartphone test. Does the queue of this ride have enough to keep you off of your phone?
Yeah, I think it really does.
I think it's a great
and you're
queue.
not even waiting that long in it on average.
Even if you
when
were.
you are waiting it, there's plenty of stuff to learn.
A 30 would be good. There's so many fun facts hidden in the ride. Also, like the actual information presented is, you know, good stuff to know, historical data. So, and you know, the space station is really cool. It's a fictional space station, but I buy it. And the pre-show's funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 for 3. That's a pass. Moving on to test number 4, the Tony Stark test. How innovative is this attraction? Does it push theme park tech forward? It's a motion simulator, been done before, but at the same time, it really pushes it. They collaborated with NASA to make this very true to life, but all things considered, it still is a motion simulator. I mean, it is on that centrifuge, but once again,
I mean, there's no ride
that
does a motion simulator like this.
No,
probably for the best. That there's no other ride though. So I don't know. Like that's a tough one because
but
yes, the ride is innovative.
Does it push theme park tech forward? I don't think so because no ride's ever really tried to build off of what it's presented here. It's built off what was presented before, but no ride was like, hey, I saw all those people like getting spun around at 35 miles per hour and vomiting their lunch onto their own laps. Why don't we do that again?
Yeah, I don't think enough from the tech that went into this simulator has been emulated in other rides going forward. If anything, they've pulled from other simulator attractions.
I agree.
That predated it. So yeah, unfortunately, it's a fail.
The only one I could even think of, and this is such a shoehorn job, but you could make the argument, Rise of the Resistance, the transport vehicle that goes to Bergara, it's on a turntable that's spinning very slowly.
Turntables have existed before this.
Yeah, but there's a motion simulator on a spinning device. So like technically, but I don't think they were like, remember how they did that in Mission Space? We could do that for Rise of the Resistance. I don't think that's what happened.
I don't think that.
All right, so 2 for 4. Moving forward to test number 5, the Hollywood test. Can this attraction be adapted for the silver screen? Does it have a comprehensible story? Honestly, I think it could. It does have a comprehensible story. We've seen plenty of mission to, you know, Mars kind of films. There's peril in it. There's a mission that goes awry. I don't think it's a great story, but it's comprehensible.
Although they do definitely preface it as it being like a simulation, and not like it's kind of a weird like.
Well, they
mix
say
and match where it's like they're kind of like saying it's a flight simulation, but then like when you're in it, it actually they kind of talk about it like
as
you're
if it's,
actually
as if you're in the mission
and
yeah.
you did survive. It's kind of weird, but
I don't know. What do you think? What do you got for this one?
I mean, I really like this ride more than most people I know, but I don't think there's quite enough story there besides it just being, hey, we're going to Mars.
Yeah, but that could be a movie. I think that's enough.
Yeah.
And there's a story there. As much as I hate this ride, I think there is a beginning, middle, and end here.
And there is like a beat, like it does show that there's training that it should precurse that.
You're in a space station before you get on the mission, you know.
Mm-hmm. At least it feels lived in, or at least like worked in.
Let me paint the picture this way. Let's say it's not a vomit machine and the sliders are adjusted accordingly to make this an enjoyable experience for the wider public and not just the Byron Marin sickos, the Byromaniacs out there. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that's the universe that we're living in, and it's drawn in 60 minutes every day. Then I could see Disney being like, wow, people really love this Mission Space IP. I could see them making a movie off of this.
Well, they definitely leave a lot of like runway for it.
Yeah, the source material is there.
There is like so little story in it though that it allows you to make up.
But there is a comprehensible story though. Beginning, middle, and end.
Hey, look, I'll give it the pass.
I'm going to give it the pass. I'm going to give it the pass. And that's me trying to be objective.
I just didn't want it to come for, if you're being objective, it's like, I just didn't want my bias to come into this. Yeah. Like, I'm willing to pass it. But
look, they ain't going to pass much more if I have anything to do with it. That's 3 for 5. That's a pass somehow. The Simpson test number 6. How likely is this to be replaced with something new? A la Simpsons did with Back to the Future. I think it's going to be replaced. I really do. It's dated. No one likes it. Low wait times. Test track.
This is the really interesting thing because my first thought is absolutely they're going to end up replacing this. It just doesn't draw in enough of a crowd.
It's a waste of space. Waste of mission space.
However, they just sank so much money into Space 220 that if they were to replace Mission Space, I think they would maybe...
I don't think that matters because they have Cosmic Rewind right next to it, so that's already space themed.
So you think they'll remove Space 220 and then...
No, I think they could keep Space 220 and have that be...
And then what else are you putting in that pavilion?
Well, think about it this way. Mission Space was the space exploration attraction, and Cosmic Rewind is next to that. And, well, before even Cosmic Rewind, Test Track is next to that. So it's like, here's our space one. Here's our, like, car one. And I think if you remove Mission Space, the space gap left in the entertainment kind of like offering that the park has will be filled by Space 220 and Cosmic Rewind, which is also a space-ish kind of like thing.
But you could also think about it this way. They just put a bunch of money into this
restaurant.
Innovative,
Space 220 is a restaurant for anybody.
We love using that word. Restaurant, Space 220 that's connected. It is part of that pavilion.
Yeah.
The Space Pavilion.
Yeah.
So they clearly have no plans. This is like not a matter of like, should they? It's just like realistically, do you see it happening? They clearly want that pavilion to stay for a while.
But here's the thing.
Okay. And on top of that, because they have Cosmic Rewind, they have chosen to go forward with doing a test track 3.0.
Yes. World of Motion themed though.
It is, I think it's worth arguing that maybe they feel like they're going to have 2 big e-ticket attractions right there. And then a extremely popular restaurant in Space 220, which it is. It's very hard to get in there.
Yes.
Where Mission Space can cruise along just fine with its 15-minute wait time. It's kind of like a spillover.
It's not helping the park's capacity issues, though. It's not helping because EPCOT is lacking for attractions. And so this is not helping that problem because no one's getting on this. So, and my thing is, yes, you can make an argument that there's like a little space corner, but they don't even call it a space pavilion. That's Future World. So,
but you don't think it's serving up, you don't think like the rides that like have these 15-minute average waits aren't still putting a lot of people through on a daily basis and giving people like a quick, easy way to like add value to their day?
I think it's making a minimal dent. And if anything, it's really driving in some interesting comments over to guest services.
Yeah. I don't know. I find it really interesting that if they had plans to remove this anytime soon, they wouldn't have gone with Space 220.
Okay, let me ask you, let me reframe the question this way. Who is this ride for?
Me. It's me.
Because let's just go through, I'm going to run through just groups of people and you tell me whether or not they would get on Mission Space. Elderly.
I would highly discourage them.
Children.
How old?
10 and below.
I think 8 and above, you're golden.
On the Orange Mission? Are you out of your mind?
8 and above, you're golden. 8 was when I went on a rock and roller coaster the first time.
Man.
You could handle it.
I don't think a family's getting on this bad boy. I don't think people above their 30s are getting on this bad boy. I think this is a ride exclusively for thrill seekers, honestly.
Yeah.
And also, like, even if you, let's say a 10-year-old's like, I could get on this. The dad's going to have to go on with them. You think the dad's going to be happy after he gets off this shit?
I hope so. I'm going to be a happy dad, hopefully one day, and I'm going to get on that.
Oh my God. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think it has wide enough appeal, and I think it's a big nothing burger over there. I feel like I would be shocked if in 10, 15 years if it was still there. Because like we're looking now, like where we're at 21 years in, that's a pretty good run. And the screen, as we already mentioned, feels dated. It feels dated. So I just don't see it.
They renovated it in 2017.
Could have fooled me.
Which is wild. Like they've had like that would have been the time. And instead they re-upped that. They sunk more into it because they enhanced the graphics and then they built a really big restaurant next to it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
A whole new pre-show.
Yeah, but the restaurant is standalone. You don't need.
You can't tell me Gary Sinise got removed in vain.
No, I'm telling you right now that there's nothing about Space 220 that needs mission space for it to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because they're not like right next door to each other in a very visible way. They're just like Space 220 is kind of hidden. Like it's not like obvious. So
yeah, what I could see happening though is them removing the centrifuges and making it either like a very authentic walkthrough space.
Well, there is
like
a
interactive attraction, which they already have.
There's a play. There's a walkthrough at the end, and there's like a play area for kids at the end.
So I guess you could also say there's enough to do at the Space Pavilion that if they were to remove it, they could put something else in there. Maybe it's going to be something with a different ride system.
The version of this ride where you are on a centrifuge and you are put in your little claustrophobia box, your little Dracula coffin. I don't think it's going to continue. I don't think Mission Space, like the ride itself is not thrilling enough. Like I know I argued for it to have a comprehensible story. It does. That doesn't mean it's a good one. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm willing to fail this. I think it'll be there for at least the next 10 years. I don't think it'll be there for the next 20. That would be my...
It will be replaced though, bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, everything I think eventually is going to get replaced, but I could actually see within the next 20 years this going. So with that being said, I would give it a fail.
Then it's a fail.
But I'm willing to make a bet with you that it lasts 10.
Okay. I'll bet you another beer.
Deal. This show won't be going in 10 years.
That's true, but we'll still have that bet. We'll always have the bet.
Perfect.
3 for 6. Moving on. Test number 7, the signature moment test. Can this ride hold its own without its signature moment? Is it a one-trick pony?
It's a one-trick pony.
Yep.
I love that trick, but if you were to remove the launch,
remove the centrifuge.
Well, I mean,
that's the green version, and
I would say that's like the signature feature.
Yeah,
it's part of the ride system.
The launches,
but specifically, even if you have centrifuge for the rest of the ride, if you remove that intense sustained blast off, it's really not enough for me. That's really what I go. That incredible sensation, like that thrill that you can't get anywhere else in a Disney park.
Yeah.
Where almost like, yeah, I love thrill rides, and even that like pushes the limits of my comfort. It makes me feel really alive.
Yeah.
And not having that would ruin the ride for me. So I would say it's a one-trick pony.
I think it's a fail as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. 3 for 7. Let's move to the last 3 tests here. But before we do that, let's once again thank our sponsors. And we are back. It's time to find out the fate of Mission Space. I almost said Space 220. We have a score of 3 out of 7 going into the last 3 tests. Let's move to test number 8, the premature detraculation test. Does this ride finish too soon? You can make the argument not soon enough, but
it's a perfect length. It's terrific.
It is. If you like the ride and you're having a good time, it's satisfying. It has enough moments that I think it doesn't survive without the launch, but it has enough that it results in a satisfying
It's got
experience.
good pacing beats. The hyper sleep.
Actually, that's my favorite moment of the ride.
Yeah, because you get to like take a breather for a sec. But like then like you're like, oh, wake up, you're in an asteroid field. Like
rise and shine. Let's go, team. We've got a problem. Beginning evasive maneuvers. This meteor storm is directly over your Mars landing site. Proximity alert.
It's a little abrupt and weird. I know you kind of like the end with the hanging off the side of the cliff.
200. Watch the barrier. 15 feet. Pull back.
I'm kind of whatever about it. Like, I feel like I've just seen that in so many movies and like attractions where it's like, don't move a muscle. Like, and I'm like, I thought this was like a space thing. Like, why is like the finale of this hanging over the side of a cliff? That doesn't make me associated with space. And, the sensation of being an astronaut. But I will say, like the thrill of the launch, then you get that beautiful floaty moment over Earth with the beautiful views.
The zero G.
Yeah, you got different scenes. You're getting.
Sounds like you're talking yourself almost out of the signature moment test, but
no, because it still needs like that payoff only works because of the launch. If you take away the launch, you lose the
it's true. Yeah.
That beautiful moment. It doesn't feel earned.
Then you're just getting tortured.
Because part of seeing that Earth reveal, like in the distance, that like beautiful view is like, oh my God, I survived that. Thank God.
But do you think it finishes too soon then? So this is a pass for you?
It's a pass. I think it's the appropriate length. Any longer, I would be very uncomfortable. It's already kind of teetering for me on being a little too long. For many guests, I think it is too long.
It's too long.
But for me, it's freaking perfect.
I think it's a pass. 4 for 8. Moving on, test number 9, the exit hall test. Do you see people be physically excited after they get off this ride? Do they have that bounce in their step? They might have the bounce in that they are running.
They're heading to that closet.
They're heading to the Ralph room. It's
I get a lot of bounce off this ride.
That's insane.
Yeah, I get a lot of bounce off this ride.
Insane.
Now, what's a detriment to it is the thrills, like the best thrills of this ride are in the first 20 seconds.
Yeah.
If the thrills of the launch were at the end of the ride, I think you'd get more bounce amongst park guests. However, by the end, I think a lot of people just would prefer sitting down.
Yeah, the peril of just like, are we going to fall off this cliff? Oh, you made it. And I'm like, great, get me off the ride. I'm not stoked up because of the ride. People getting off this ride either look uncomfortable or just like, okay, kind of thing.
Yeah. I will say, objectively speaking, like personally speaking, I would say that I get bounced because I just get this feeling of like, oh, I made it through.
Accomplishment.
Like, that was an intense experience. And like, I made it through and now I get to enjoy the rest of my day.
I can see that argument.
Objectively speaking, I look at it as the peak of fun in this ride. For some, it might be too much.
Yeah.
Is at the really beginning and it kind of just slopes down that by the end, you're just kind of like, cool. I'm ready to get off. I do not have the bounce. So objectively speaking, I would go with a fail. I'm
going to fail it. Just cause like you said, I just don't see anybody excited when they get off this thing. And they're excited because they're leaving.
And there's attractions that like, you don't need it to be super intense to get bounced. Like it has like some sort of like emotional, relevance or just, you're swept up and, feeling a certain way that you can take into the rest of your day.
Yeah.
This like that moment, if it exists for anyone in this ride, it does for me, is once again, right after that launch, seeing the Earth. But once again, you have minutes more of ride. And by the time you land, you've long forgotten about that. No longer carry that feeling.
It's weird too, because normally the bounce question, usually those rides get passes when it's a thrill ride. And you can make the argument that this is the most thrilling ride in the entire resort and that it's so intense and that's the most intense ride in the resort. But it's intense for the sake of being intense. I think that's where it loses me. It's like, you could strap me by my ankles and spin me around like a top.
That could be Six Flags' motto if they wanted it to be. And
exactly.
People would be quite okay with that. It's okay to have a thrilling ride just to be a thrilling ride.
What if you strung me up on my ankles and dipped me in water over and over again? That'd be intense. But I don't know if it gives me bounce. I'm like, damn, I'm glad I survived. But
hey, I love it. I love it for its unique nature because no other Disney ride
it's unique
has the guts to really go for it like this one does.
It's a fail. That's 4 for 9. Moving into test number 10, the fine wine test. Has this ride aged well? Has your opinion of the attraction appreciated or depreciated since your first experience? Or if it's a new ride, do you believe it will age well? It's been a pretty linear line downward for me. I liked it when I first got on it when I was a teenager. And from that moment on, as my body began to age and I started to degrade naturally, my opinion of this ride also degraded naturally. It's no longer for me. Is what I'll say.
Yeah.
It's got a nimble fucking sized target that you're trying to hit. And for some weirdos out there. They land right inside that thimble. But
And
for
you know
me-
what? I am that weirdo because over time, my appreciation has grown for this ride.
No,
I
it
get more
fucking
excited
hasn't.
every time. I think part of it's fear. And I like feeling because I don't usually feel any sort of fear on any Disney attractions.
That's true.
And this is the one attraction that does it. And as time has passed, there's been so many other Disney rides that check off all the other boxes that I need.
Yeah.
That I have this special place here at Mission Space that gets to just fucking rock my world for a few seconds. And for that, and combined with the 2017 improvements on the visuals, which was always my biggest gripe with this ride, was how awful I thought the visuals were. Improving the visuals.
Generous.
I'm not saying that they're spectacular, but it has appreciated in quality as a ride. And for me, I think I've appreciated this ride more and more because I accept what it is. That's not going to be for everyone.
Saying those are improvements is so skewed, dude. Like it's like saying like the screen got a little better. That's like saying like, oh, this restaurant made some improvements. They have a restroom now.
Look,
that's the baseline. Every restaurant should have a restroom.
Even if it's a minimal,
you should have a screen that you can see.
Tiny minimal level of appreciation. If it does exist, I have to pass it.
Oh my God, dude, that is crazy.
And I'm going to pass it.
Dude, even for my bachelor party, you were trying to convince us to not get on.
No. I was just telling you that, hey, I had a miserable experience on this last time.
I have to say though,
I remember, I'm like, I really hope that doesn't happen again. We strap in.
Immediately happens. I have to say that I do appreciate the argument of it does strike fear into your heart. It truly does. And I have to say, upon reflection, there's only 2 rides I can think of. 3 rides. There's 3 rides in my life that legitimately make me feel fear.
Disney or just in general?
In general.
That's saying something.
There's 3. X2 at Six Flags.
Yeah, I got that one too.
Supreme Scream at Knott's Berry Farm, and this ride. The only difference is X2 and Supreme Scream. It's the kind of fear where you're like, ooh, I'm scared. This might be pretty scary, but you're saying it in a way where you're like, this is still going to be very fun. Like, I'm going to have a fun time, and I'm not going to feel bad after.
This is more intense than
this is like,
Supreme Scream,
I am scared for my health for this ride. I'm scared of what this is going to do to the rest of my day because I have to recover. I have to prepare my body in various ways before I get on. Like I'm an astronaut.
Yeah, no, this is not for everyone. Honestly, it's not for most people. But.
So I agree that this ride genuinely makes me feel fear, but it's not the good kind of fear. Like I like fear when it's within the reason and it's controlled and there's no real true consequences. And I get that some people, this is all personal preference. There's tolerance levels. Like I'm sure some people think I got an X2 and at Six Flags and now I'm sick because I couldn't handle it. That might be X2 to them might be what this is to me.
Yeah.
But I'll say for me personally, this is the only ride that actually makes me feel ill and also almost gives me a panic attack when I strap in.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of the design of the cabin.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fail for me.
Yeah.
And
but
you're going to make me
but it sounds like what you brought up, although a fail on your end is enough to earn its 0.5 because I'm giving it a pass.
That's crazy, dude. All right. Well, it's a 0.5 then. We're going to finish this with a score of 4.5 out of 10. Still not sniffing world-class pass status.
Not quite, but for the select few that are crazy enough to punish themselves on this ride, join me.
There are dozens.
I'm tired of riding this alone.
Dozens of us. Yeah. Also, I like I don't like being negative about rides because I love rides, but I have to be true to how I feel about this ride. I think
next time, Ryan,
I think it's an abomination. I really do.
You get in line over at that Space 220 lounge.
Yeah.
Because they have a separate bar from the restaurant. You hang out there. I'll go do my thing. Ride the orange version. We'll pop out. We'll crack a beer over it. In 10 years, that beer might be on you. If it's
what's
still
annoying is if you and I go to the park alone and you get on this ride, I'm going to get on with you because I can't resist the siren song of it. It's like it's part just that like. I hate to say almost like toxic masculinity of like, I could get on it. I'm not a chicken. And then there's also the part of like FOMO. It's like equal parts that FOMO. And then also just like, what else am I going to be doing? I don't want to just sit around. I'm too antsy. I can't sit with myself for that long. So I got to go. I'm going to just get on this ride, I guess.
And this is the big takeaway from this episode.
I'm not proud of those things, by the way.
At the end of the day, it's still a ride.
It is still a ride.
And we still want to ride that ride.
I've never once said I'm going to sit this ride out because I can't handle it, because I love rides so much, and I don't think I'd be capable of doing it. I think if you went on this, I would be forced to get on it. And
forced by yourself.
Forced by myself. I wouldn't even be angry at you. I'd be angry at myself. I'd be like, I knew I was going to hate this, and I did it still, and now I feel like shit. Anyways, 4.5 out of 10. Make of that what you will. That does it for this episode of For Your Amusement. Thank you guys for listening or watching. If you're watching over at youtube.com/watcherpodcast, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're listening, make sure you rate the podcast 5 stars and also subscribe. It will help us keep making this show. Also, you could follow the pod on socials at FYA Pod across all socials. I'm at Ryan S. Bergara on Twitter and at Ryan Bergara on Instagram. And Byron is at Byron A. Marin everywhere. But hey, chime off in the comments. What do you think about Mission Space? Were we too harsh, or were you with me? Like, burn it down. Burn it down and pee on the ashes. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.